Hi, ladies and gentlemen. It's Ethan Armstrong here, Sports Information Director at Gustavus Adolphus College. We are in the presidential suite here at Hollingswood Field, and I am with head coach Peter Haugen of the Gustavus Adolphus football team. Today, me and Coach Haugen are talking about Jeffrey Dubose. Jeffrey Dubose has been named the 2013-14 Student Athlete of the Year. First of all, Coach Haugen, congratulations to Jeffrey. He is the first football recipient since 2002 when Ryan Haugen was the winner.
That's great. You know, we're just really proud of Jeffrey, and certainly his teammates had a huge part of his success too, and all the people around him. But a special time for him for sure, and certainly you mentioned Ryan Haugen back in 2002 and the great career he had.
Well, let's turn back the clock a little bit here on Jeffrey's career and kind of do an oral history of his time since coming to Gustavus. But even before that, let's talk about the recruiting process. When did you first hear about this St. Paul kid from private school, St. Croix Lutheran?
Yeah, you know, Coach Galindo got on Jeffrey early, and you know, he had a heritage here at Gustavus with a couple of his sisters going to school here at Gustavus, so he knew a little bit about Gustavus. Actually, knew more than a little bit. But you know, when we started recruiting him, you just knew right away that he was special. I mean, he was very versatile, tough kid. Was a all-state running back, and then in the all-star game played defensive back. So. You know, he was just a kid right away that we knew would be a difference maker.
And that All-Star game, was that here on campus? So did he get a first taste of Hollingsworth Field at that point?
You know, he got a first taste of practicing here.
Sure.
That's where we practiced here during the week, and so we got a chance to connect with him that week, and I remember that being a really special time. And then he got a chance to play in the game up at St. Cloud University.
Sure. Looking at the recruiting process, and you got him to commit to Gustavus, how did you see him fitting into your system right away? Did you see him as an impact freshman right off the bat?
I think you just never know. I mean, certainly what we saw with him on tape was really positive, and what we knew of him athletically, we thought that he would be a great Division III football player. He's certainly a kid who probably could have played even at a higher level, but you know, his education was very important to him. He's a physics major, and I know that, you know, that's what really attracted him here, as well as the strong academics. But we knew that he was special, and you know, sometimes you don't know exactly how fast they're going to make that impact, but certainly he made his right away.
Sure. Well, now that you had him committed to Gustavus and he was here for your first fall camp, what were his impressions that he made right away? Because obviously you started him as a freshman, and he played all 4 years, very significant playing time, very significant carries.
Yeah, I mean, he came in right away. I mean, he's got an incredible personality, and he's very confident young man. And I wouldn't say cocky, but very confident. And he came in that first week, I think, with his number etched into the side of his head, and he had gotten himself a new haircut. And so right away, he was just a guy that people were very attracted to. You know, he was not an arrogant young man, but he was a guy who just loved the game. He loved his teammates, and he played the game extremely hard.
Debose totaled 721 yards his freshman season. He averaged 15 carries a game. Right off the bat after that rookie season, is this the type of kid, is this the kid that you saw a workhorse in, a kid that you could work your offense around of and kind of base your offense around of?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, coming in, we wanted to have a really strong running attack, and you know, after his freshman year, he demonstrated right now that he was a guy that you had to give the ball more than 15 times a game. So, you know, we knew that we had something special there, and so that was just it really confirmed his freshman year confirmed that, boy, he's a guy that we're going to have to really, you know, give great opportunity to as he continued his career.
All right, Jeffrey's sophomore season, Coach Haugen, statistically was his worst, you know, 574 yards, averages 57.4 yards per game, and we say the worst is because his next two seasons were so good after that. That year, your offense struggled to find an identity a little bit, but at the same time, I think that maybe motivated Jeffrey and motivated this football team a little bit. I've always thought that the greatest stride a football player needs to make is between his freshman and sophomore year. It seemed like Jeffrey made that his greatest jump between his sophomore and junior season, where he really propelled himself into an elite level running back in the MIAC.
Right. You know, I think the sophomore year was a little bit of a tougher year, certainly for us as a team. I mean, it was a struggle. But you know, the one thing that I loved about Jeffrey, and even in the midst of the 4 years that not being his best year, he played the game the same way. And I think that's what defines a great player. He did not let the circumstances around him really impact how he approached the game. And I think that's what made him a really fun teammate, is that he got after people every single day. And he was a guy that, regardless of what the situations around him were, he was just a kid who was absolutely committed to playing a game that he loved. And you could tell he loved the game that he played because he was intense. And so, yeah, you never know when you're going to have that breakout season, but what you do look for in great players is, do they bring that same level of intensity every single day in the midst of the highs and the lows that we go through in the course of a season?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Jeffrey's personality really showing through in his rookie season, in his initial camp. I don't think it changed much, you're right, through those 4 years, did it?
No, it just marinated a little bit more. He was, he's just an impact guy, and a guy that was just fun to be around. He connected with his coaches. He wanted to win in the worst way, and you knew that. So he was never satisfied. And certainly that was tough a little bit at times, but you can see that he kept bringing the good stuff every single time. And over a 4-year career, boy, he started to see the fruits of that labor.
Sure. Well, during his junior season, a little setback for Jeffrey. He suffered an injury that sidelined him for 3 games. He was able to bounce back and finish the season, and he earned all-conference honors. He was our first all-conference performer in a very long time. So just the perseverance kind of showed through in his junior season a little bit.
Yeah, I think, given the short, and, he had the injury, and how he came back from that injury is still kind of a remarkable thing, where his ligament was completely detached from the bone, and then 3 weeks later he's playing in a game. And so just a remarkable in terms of his healing. But I think it also speaks to the respect that our coaches in our league had for Jeffrey, and they knew that he was a dynamic player, and that they knew that he was a difference maker, and they knew that he was the guy that made us go.
Well, we've come to the present, his senior season, and what an incredible campaign it was for both Jeffrey and the Gustavus football team. But just to throw some numbers and get those out of the way for you here, all conference honors, first team for the 2nd straight season, named D3Football.com All West Region first team, a very high honor there. And then he was named D3Football.com Honorable Mention All America. Season alone, he ran for 24 touchdowns. It's a school record, 1,400 yards, 265 carries, 5.5 yards per carry, and 145.9 yards per game. Just an incredible senior year, Coach Haugen. You look back at it now, could you ever imagine he'd have this incredible of a year to finish things out? It's just how you want to end it.
Yeah, I mean, it was special. It was special for everybody to be a part of. I mean, can't say enough about the guys blocking for him. I mean, we had 5 offensive linemen who didn't miss a start. Now, I think the year before we had 11 guys start on the offensive line. So to have that consistency up front, I think that really helped set the table for him. But yeah, certainly the dynamic play is amazing. You mentioned all of his yards and his touchdowns. Some of the things that to me just set the guy apart was he was probably our best blocker. He was an incredibly physical kid, and I don't know exactly what the number of carries is, but it's a crazy number of carries without to fumble ratio. So he protected the football. But an amazing senior year for him, for us, and we got a chance to watch it, right? Yeah. And sometimes as coaches, we take credit for great athleticism, and we shouldn't. So we got to just enjoy some of that kind of stuff. But he's a young man who played with such intensity, and his teammates loved to block for him.
All right, now that we've hit on the details and kind of the statistics of Jeffrey's career here, Coach Haugen, let's dig a little deeper. Jeffrey served as a senior or as a captain his senior year. What stands out as you look back at his leadership qualities over his 4 years being such an integral part of this offense?
Yeah, I think there's players that lead in different ways. There's guys who lead with quiet confidence. There's guys who lead on the field, off the field. Some guys are loud, some guys are this and that. I think what Jeffrey really represented is a guy that was a recognized leader because of how he approached that game and his intensity and his love for the game that he brought. And that just made everybody better on our whole football team. He kind of demanded that we were going to play a certain way. And I think there's that leadership is really, really important. And I know it had an incredible impact on our guys. But when you watch him on the field of how he played the game, he showed how you play the game the right way.
Sure. And you look back at all these games and all these carries, Coach. You look back at the player. How do you think Gustavus football fans are going to remember Jeffrey? You know, what type of player are they going to remember? You know, each of the great running backs has his own distinct style. You know, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, Adrian Peterson all have a very distinct way of running. How are people going to remember Jeffrey Dubose? Because in the Gustavus record books, he's statistically definitely one of the best.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think he's versatile. You know, he's a very versatile back, and so he could run away from you. He could make cuts to avoid you, but he was also that guy who would run right through you. And so he had a versatile style. And one thing that people don't see a ton is that he caught the ball well out of the backfield. So his versatility, I think, was a big part. But, you know, at the end of the day, he had so much fight in him. And I think that's what separates the great players from the good ones, is they just have a passion for the game. And so Jeffrey is going to be remembered, I think, because of how hard he played and the passion that he brought to it. And we will miss Jeffrey, and we're all going to also miss his cheering section, as you remember. You know, his mother and his sisters who supported him through everything. You know, we'll miss all that. So hopefully they'll come back and watch. But Jeffrey had a huge impact on all of us.
And finally, just to wrap things up, you know, every player that graduates and comes through this program wants to leave a lasting impact on the program. What impact do you think Jeffrey's made on the Gustavus football program for 4 years here?
I think, again, it's the intensity. The level of intensity that you have to play with to win in this league. And we play in what's regarded by many as the best Division III conference in the country. And so you're not going to get by just with a mediocre effort. And I think what we can learn from Jeffrey and what he brought us from day one is a smile on his face and an intense attitude about how he played the game.
Well, thanks a lot for joining me, Coach Haugen. And congrats to Jeffrey Dubose, our male Student Athlete of the Year from the Presidential Suite at Hollingsworth Field in St. Peter, Minnesota. For Ethan Armstrong and Coach Haugen, thanks a lot for listening and watching.